What's going on, guys? The Fender Eliminator that I designed for my Triumph 400 did so well on Etsy that I decided to make one for my Honda Grom as well. And there it is. Today I'll show you how to remove the stock fender and install this awesome brand new tail tidy. The first thing we have to do is take off the seat so it gets unlocked here, and then this seat has to be pulled up and then pulled back at the same time. The wire harness for the turn signals and the license plate light is right here. To get it off, press down this tab right here and then it'll come right out. To remove the fender, we'll take out these 4 bolts using a 10mm socket. Now we can remove the wire harness. And to do this, we need to get underneath a little bracket here in the back, maneuver it out, and then you'll be able to come out the bottom. Space is a little tight, but you can get it out. Now we'll have to remove this shell portion of the fender, and for that we'll reuse the 10mm socket. And a Phillips screwdriver. And then starting here at the top, we'll be able to pop it off. Just like that. Here you can see the welded steel frame that holds all of this together. It's really heavy. I'm sure it will take at least 1.5 pounds off the back of the bike just by replacing this with a Fender Eliminator. To release the turn signal sub-harnesses, it gets unplugged from this section right here. Just comes straight out. They're bullet connectors. The turn signals are mounted by these 2 flanged nuts. And they're on here really tight, so what I suggest is putting the mounting screws back into these 2 front holes to hold this bracket in place, so that when you torque on these nuts, you're torquing on the frame rather than the flimsy plastic parts. Finger tight's good enough. And we'll use a 14mm open-end wrench to remove these mounting nuts. And they're on here tight, so don't be surprised. Now we can pull them out. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. The license plate light is held on by 2 nuts right here and right here. We'll use an 8mm socket to remove those. Right here you'll find a sheet metal wire retainer that needs to be bent up just a little bit. And then we can release the wire harness for the license plate light. And then from here we can remove it straight from the back. It's a really tight fit, so It helps to move this cover down further onto the wire harness, fold it, and then run it through the hole. We're going to reuse this rubber gasket. To remove it, these two spacers have to be pushed into the front. That's what they look like. We won't be reusing these. And then the gasket can pull straight out. If you look at it, you can see that it has two built-in grommets, and that's what helps to retain it in the fender. Here we have the Fender Eliminator. The first step is to install the gasket that we just took off, and it just pushes into place into these two holes. And you kind of have to wiggle it in there so that it catches the flange that it sets on. There we go. And you know it's in there because it'll be mostly flat on that surface. The license plate light will be next. Start by inserting the connector in through this hole in the back. And then I'll fold this cover so that it'll be easier to insert. Then we can set the license plate light into its new home. I'll put a little bit of blue Loctite onto the studs. You can't tighten these too much because it'll put too much squish on that rubber gasket, possibly cause a leak. So go ahead and install the nuts. An 8mm socket will tighten it down. Again, not too tight, just enough to snug it down. The turn signal wires are color coded, so it's impossible to get it wrong. The green wires go into this same connector. Then the orange. And finally blue. With the Fender Eliminator in this orientation, it's actually upside down. But you'll know you'll have the turn signals in the right position if you can see these two screws. These hold the lenses in place. This wire harness is going to enter the motorcycle in this front left-hand side as it's shown right here. It's actually going to go into the motorcycle on the right side. So in order to make that easier, once this is being mounted to the motorcycle, we're going to do a little bit of wire management and position these wires on the left side, and then we'll zip tie it. And then we can push the wire harness through that hole. It's finally time to mount this bad boy up. For that, we're going to use these button head cap screws and lock nuts. And to fasten those, we're going to use a 4mm Allen key and a 10mm socket. The first step is to get the wire harness routed through the fender. So let's go underneath. Looking up at the bottom of the fender, you'll see a triangular hole. That's where the wiring harness goes through. And then as it goes in, it has to go towards the back. And when we go top side, I'll show you why. So go ahead and insert it, and then it's going to take some jiggling and finagling to get this going to the right direction. There, it's through. And then this cover, we'll go ahead and fold it again so that it can get in there a little bit easier. Right here is the opening where the wire harness goes through. So I'll go ahead and get that cover to go all the way through. It's a bit of a tight space, but we'll be able to get it through. There we go. Now we can go ahead and raise the Fender Eliminator into position. We'll get this Fender Eliminator into position. Then at the same time, I'm pulling on the harness so that it doesn't get pinched. And then I'll take one of the bolts and put that into position. There we go. And then I can let it go. It'll stay there while I thread one of the lock nuts into place. And then we'll do the same with the rest of them. All right, now we can go ahead and tighten them up. Now we can go ahead and route and connect the wire harness. It has to go underneath this tube and then forward. And it just snaps right in. We'll put the cover back on and just slide it into its little space right there. The cover that protects your wiring is held in place with these 4 sheet metal screws. We'll use a number 3 Phillips to screw those on. Let's go ahead and set this into place. And get one of the screws started. Since we did that wire management earlier, makes this step much easier. Then we'll do the other side. Make sure it's pushed all the way in. The front of the seat has this molded in hook that engages this loop that's welded to the frame. And then further towards the back, you can see 2 more hooks. This one's metal. And those 2 engage these 2 loops. And then finally, this is the part that actually locks the seat onto the frame. And that goes straight down into this hole, this latch mechanism right here. So you just kind of have to get it started and then push it forward Make sure it engages all those hooks, and then just push straight down. There it is, guys, all mounted up. License plate is bolted in, seats back on. This bike's ready to ride again. If you'd like to get your own copy of this Fender Eliminator, I'll have it for sale on my Etsy store. You'll find a link in the description. Thanks for watching.